and her love of going to the theater, which is where I came in. She swears she didn't see shows with me that I know she saw, and I think it's because she didn't like them. The dress in the pictures, the black dress from the last high school reunion, that was the last time we went shopping. She brought the necklace because the dress was purchased to show off the necklace. And so I think that's pretty sums her up really well. So you want me to speak into the microphone? Okay. So we've been friends over 30 years, and we've gone on vacations together and gone to shows together. And it's been, we have a similar worldview, even though we had very different, growing up experiences, even though we were both in the city. And I'm definitely going to miss her. And when I go see Hamilton on August 20th, the person sitting next to me will not be Karen, and the ticket was for her. But it'll be fine. I have something to read. I've got the wrong phone on. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Okay, this is from Susan Strawn, Professor Emerita at Dominican University. Karen was colleagues with her. I will always be grateful that Karen Mueser befriended me while we both taught at Dominican University. With her characteristic enthusiasm, Karen opened her heart to share her knowledge of textiles with students and her love of Chicago with me. I am still in denial that we will never have the opportunity to take that trip to Norway together. Thank you, Karen, for being my friend. And that leads me to my ending. Karen and I will never get to take that trip to Mount Rushmore together, which was another thing that we ran out of time for. And next up will be Cousin Maggie.
I'm Cousin Maggie. Karen's heritage is German and Norwegian, and I'm from the Norwegian side of the family tree. And my Karen's mother and my father were brother and sister, and their parents came from Norway, the same part of Norway, and immigrated to the Chicago area and met here and got married and started their family. And they joined a vibrant Norwegian American community here in the Chicago area. And where was I? Karen and I shared a love of all things Norwegian, and we're both big collectors. So if you've ever been to her house, you know that it's covered with wonderful Norwegian decorative items, and the Norwegian sweaters, and the music, and the food, and all those things that she has kept, kept the tradition alive. She was in the process of making an authentic bunad, which is the Norwegian costume, and she never had a chance to finish it. She had gone to Decorah, Iowa, to the Vesterheim Museum and took a class to work on this project, and it is only half completed. And she was, Susan Strawn mentioned taking a trip to Norway together. They were going to take a tour of Norway, studying the textiles of Norway, and that was going to happen this month. So Susan's going, but Karen can't, which is too bad. Karen was a lot more knowledgeable about the language and the history and the cultural and the genealogy, and I wish I had taken notes when she would tell me stories about all those things, because she was the person I referred to when, who's that picture on the wall there? And she could fill me in on both the German and the Norwegian side of who's who and wonderful family stories. And I'm going to miss that. There you go. I still think, I need to ask Karen. Oh no, I can't ask Karen. So I'm going to miss her, as all of you are too. And I have a letter to read from Marlene Wyman Backhouse, who knew Karen at UW Stout and they were on the gymnastics team together. And we actually found Karen's leotard and her little slippers, and we have a wonderful picture of the team, all standing there in their gymnastics outfits. And you may or may not know that she was awarded just a few years ago an award at Stout for being the first woman athlete at Stout to be entered into the Hall of Fame. So this is what Marlene has to say. Marlene says, I was lucky enough to be a friend of Karen since we were 18 and 19 years old. We met on the gymnastics team my sophomore year and Karen's freshman year. I was from Menominee, so lived at home during my school years, and Karen was a frequent visitor to my mom and dad's house. They loved her too. We had many great times together during college with gymnastics mainly, but also going to many dances, etc. And in the later years going to homecoming events and visiting each other. I lived in Illinois for a time, and Karen and I would travel to Menominee for Stout's homecoming on occasion. And by the time we would reach Menominee, we both had lost our voices. Because they loved to talk and had plenty to talk and laugh about. I always was lucky enough to attend the botanical gardens with Karen the last time that I saw her. What a beautiful place. I stayed with her at that time when the Blackhawks won the championship. I loved her house and remember she had bought a stained glass window that her daughter, Josephine Geiger, had made. Marlene's daughter. The red and green colors looked so pretty in her lovely house. And at the time that Marlene wrote this, it was April 1st, and she said, today is National Gymnastics Meet here in Menominee at the University of Wisconsin Stout. They are having a get-together for all the past gymnast alumni. I had hoped to have Karen come and stay with me, but that was not to be. I regret that I will not be able to attend her memorial, but I know Karen will forgive me. I will miss her dearly, and she will always be in my hearts and thoughts. So the next person is
I have the list. Next up is Lois.
You should never give a school teacher a microphone. I'll never finish, but I promise I will. Okay, and I can't see. Okay, I brought a Kleenex. I met Karen in 1971. It was September, and we were in the auditorium, and Ed Payne, our principal, which is his birthday today, he had a surprise for me, and he announced to everybody, we have another home ec teacher. And I jumped up, I probably sounded like an idiot, and I went, where is she? I think I scared Karen to death. And we were just like soul sisters. Her birthday is May 2nd. Our principal was today, May 6th, and mine is May 12th. So we were the Taurus. We were the same colors. It was just really, really weird. Okay, I said that. We were both Tauruses, and we both liked to sew. So here we had to teach sewing and cooking and consumer ed, so who was going to do what? So we had a plan. I would take my kids to the sewing class, and then I'd take my same kids over to the food stack, and she did it. And we were the first people, believe it or not, in the state of Illinois in 1974 when they allowed the Title IX boys. And we went to the principal and said, we want boys in our class. And he went, well, you can have one boy if you can get one girl to go over to the industrial education. And we did that for years. And then all of a sudden she got ripped, first one, last one hired, first one fired. But we loved our kitty cats. I wore my kitty cat shirt in honor of Karen. And she had the biggest cat. I saw a picture of his name was Tippy, and I called him Tubby. He weighed 25 pounds. If you've ever seen that picture of a cat on a fence kind of falling over, that was her Tubby. Now I have a 20-pound cat. And Karen always hid M&Ms in the bottom of the file cabinet. So I would know where to go get my chocolate bits. I just, there they were. And she always kept the bag in there and I never had to buy any in all those years. I have no family here. And so when I first, Karen was, I guess, like 23, still lived at home. And then when I went to meet her mom and dad, I said, what do I call you? And they said, Mom and Dad. So they kind of adopted me too. I have a lot of people who have adopted me over the years. And they were wonderful, and I loved going to her house. After she was riffed in 1978, then she went to Stout to get her master's. So on her little bio, that was wrong. So after she got her master's in textiles, there was another job opening in Evanston, but she was afraid to do it because she said, yeah, I'd still be the last one hired. So then she went to Sears and met wonderful people, and she was president of Lakeshore Home Ec. I made her do it first, and then I was president of Lakeshore Home Ec. And Laura Carey is here, and she was president of Lakeshore Home Ec. And, I got that down. We always met at Lakeshore Home Ec meetings for our birthday drink, either scotch with a twist or wine. And, and when she worked at the Sears downtown, it was, I can't remember if it was 7 or 9 floors underground. And she'd say in the winter, I'd go to work, and I wouldn't see the sun, and if I didn't go out for lunch, I didn't see the sun until the weekend, and maybe there was no sun. So it was, I mean, I can't imagine working 7 floors underground. I'd get claustrophobic. Well, we always talked, we always met for years and years, and I will miss her. And one time, we were downtown Evanston, and some of our students were there, and they said, Miss Shardage, Miss Mueser, what are you doing together? And we said, well, we're friends. And they, really? Teachers are friends outside of the building? So that was just wonderful, and I'll miss her so much. Thank you.
When Karen and I used to go get a bite to eat in Evanston, we would invariably run into students. For years. Next up is Louisa Gelman, friend from the Prairie Club. Yes? Right.
Well, I just can't believe I'm here because this seems very unreal to me. Karen and I were friends since we were kids. My parents met in the Prairie Club. I think Karen's parents met in the Prairie Club. And we would go to Hazelhurst, which was a Prairie Club facility in Michigan. And we would go to Deer Grove. And I would see Karen once every several years. And then when I got busy raising my kids and going to work, it was maybe less often than that. But every time I would see Karen, we would instantly pick up and our friendship continued. And I will always remember her as being bright and cheerful and smiling. And she was always a constant in my life. The last time I saw Karen was when I led the hike in Prairie Club. We lead hikes in various parks, etc. The last hike I saw Karen at was at the Arboretum, and that was several years ago. And then when I was going to lead the hike this year, I was about to call her, and then I received the email saying that she had passed on. But I will always remember her high energy and smiling face, and I will miss her also.
Next up is Marion.
65 years worth, so you better sit back. The year I turned 4, I gained 2 sisters. One was my blood relative and born on my birthday, and the other one was a little red-haired girl that sat next to me in Sunday school, and both had been my closest friends for the past 65 years. Karen became the friend who accompanied me from kindergarten through 12th grade and beyond. We also had the benefit of attending church together. Karen, or Moose as I most often called her, who was from Mueser, had some siblings that were older than she was, and her parents often included me on their outings as substitute sibling. In our early years, Karen had a temper that often matched her red hair. She would stomp out of the room over some unknown happiness, leaving her mother and me looking at each other with wide eyes. My future husband and another boyfriend of mine were recipients of quick kicks to the shins, administered by Moose. However, her loyalty and devotion as a friend far outshone those rare displays of temper, and as she aged, she mellowed. So many memories flood my mind of escapades we had together. Thanks to her mother Edith, my love for books grew. Over the years, she gave books as gifts to me and to others, and I still have a host of Newbery Prize books that I treasure. Karen told me that when her mother would go on a book buying spree, she would spread the books all out on the bed and decide who was going to get what, and Karen would sneak in later on and surreptitiously try to read the books without bending any of the pages before they got wrapped as gifts. In our youth, we bicycled all over Norwood Park and beyond. It was a great time to be a kid. Karen's dad was my own personal repair shop for anything wrong with my bike. As we grew older, you could find us bicycling by the houses of boys that you were interested in. One time we circled one block so many times around a boy's house that the neighbor across the street who was watering his lawn finally yelled out, "Don, I think there's some girls here to see you." By 7th grade, we were in confirmation class at church, and we added 3 other girls at our church to our number. Nina Strandberg, Sandy Lane, and Cindy Mercati became part of our small group. They had attended a different grade school, but we soon all funneled into the same high school. We called ourselves the Clod Club because of our ineptness at managing all things social. And we considered each one of us to be 1/5 of a clod. We had many adventures together, including lunch outings downtown, shopping for and trying on endless dresses, and attending musical theater performances up in the $25 nosebleed section at the Schubert Theater. As always, Karen was our fearless leader, perhaps because of the fact that her mother placed bus fare and a map in her hands at the young age of 10 or 11, and instructed her to go downtown on her own, saying that she and Karen had gone down there many times, so she should know how to do it by now, and she could always stop and ask help from a policeman. Karen developed from that an unerring sense of direction. One time when a small group of Luther Leaguers journeyed to the University of Illinois for a weekend convention, Karen took one quick look at the map and within minutes was leading us on shortcuts across campus. This was a helpful trait later on when she would travel to Norway to see relatives, or on her own for many trips to Asia for various positions at Sears Roebuck and Company. I always bowed to her expertise in this area until many years later when we were headed somewhere downtown. I'd been working downtown for many years and had gotten to know the area pretty well, but I found myself, as usual, blindly following Karen like I always did, until it finally occurred to me that we were going the wrong way. Despite my mother's worries, none of us were bad kids. About the most exciting thing Karen and I ever did when we were juniors in high school was that Karen's parents went away for the weekend and I got permission to stay the weekend with her. The first night we attended a party at an older boys' home on our block. And Saturday night we decided we would venture into Edgebrook where several guys from our class were having a ping pong marathon tournament. Not having a car, we hoofed all the way to Edgebrook and enjoyed watching the games with friends. But before we realized it, it was 3 a.m, and we were not looking forward to returning home on foot through the forest preserve at that time of the morning. So the poor guy had to wake his mother up, and she had to drive us home. So we thought we were wild women that weekend. Though Karen had boyfriends over the years, she was not adept at playing the flirty girl when it came to boys or men. All of our husbands loved her and found her interesting and easy to be with. But whenever she was around an eligible man, she froze up and became a different person. I will remember one time in high school when we were staying at the Prairie Club at the Indiana Dunes. It was a rainy night, and just before bedtime, a good-looking older college guy showed up, and we were immediately infatuated. The next morning, to my amazement, he asked us if we would like to join him and walk to one of the big dunes in the area. Good old uncoquettish Karen. She immediately told him, "Oh, we went there yesterday." So off he went on his own. This time I kicked her. I gave her a stern lecture on how to be a bit more coy with men. Karen was the maid of honor at our wedding. When Art and I were first dated, Karen delighted in the fact that Art was amazed at how she and I would finish each other's sentences. I think Art enjoyed our company as much as I did. After we moved away, he had a wonderful time meeting her for lunch whenever he went downtown for a meeting. And he liked talking to her. Our son Dan also felt that way about her. She was his favorite of all my friends, and he loved it when she would come to visit us in Idaho or Montana. If you were Karen's friend, you were always well looked after. She took care of her friends like a mother hen. It's too bad she never had children of her own because she had a maternal instinct that was a big part of her. She was the center of any of our visits to Chicago, and we always used her house as a meeting place. She never let too long go by without giving you a call or to catch up on your life or fill you in on hers. This past Easter and our recent birthday felt very empty because we would always talk to each other, especially on holidays. She would tell me of her drive through all kinds of weather to get her niece Terry from Wisconsin so that she could bring her home and have a family holiday. She also gathered other friends into her home on holidays who would otherwise have been alone. When she became ill, she had that perfect combination of remaining optimistic but still realistic, a trait I admired and learned from her and her mother over the years. She was brave and amazingly even allowed friends to help her traverse the crooked path of illness and all other details. Unfortunately, her innate sense of self-sufficiency only let that go so far with family and friends. We're all a little frustrated when she would withhold information that would have enabled us to better assist her. But her spirit remained high throughout. I talked to her 3 or 4 times a week after she was diagnosed, and every day she was in the hospital. And she always kept her sense of humor throughout it. It was fun to make her laugh and hear her laugh. Just a few years ago on my birthday, she happily presented me with this necklace. She had found it had 2 peas in a pod on a chain. This was a phrase she always used for the two of us in our relationship. I will miss the other pea in my pod every day of my life from here on out, and I know most of you will too. We were more than blessed to have a friend like Karen in our lives.
I was stuck on the south side and I didn't have a map, so I called Karen and I said, "Get me home." And she pulled out her map and she told me where to go.
She told the caregivers at the Kellogg Cancer Institute, or Center, that she knew my husband long before me and our Norwood Park Lutheran Church friends, but pulled me in and made me part of the group. She cared for our cats and home for over 30 years or more, and when we would go out of town with the promise that someday we would pay her back, that never happened. The best part of a trip is the time spent together, experiencing the sights, sounds, smells, laughter, direction, under Karen's terms, and stories shared. When Karen asked me for a lift to her first of many tests or treatments, I said sure. We took a different route one day, not necessarily the one she thought I should take. And I told her, I'm gonna get you there because I work there. They paid me to come there, so we got there safely. Family and friends that I met along the way were spent sharing Karen's symptoms, her wishes, her plans, and her schedules. Despite her diagnosis and not a lot of information, she remained positive, calm, and accepting, diligent in her list-making. In all of our trips to and from the various hospitals, there was no complaining. She didn't complain about her situation. She was always looking forward and then to getting home and returning all the phone calls she'd missed. This was all as she was adjusting to her new normal. So in Karen's final hospitalization and hearing the prognosis, Steve and I felt that the very least we could do, because of her faithfulness, was to make certain that her care and needs were being met at the place I used to work. Karen's dignity, comfort, and every need were realized by the hospice physicians, staff, nurses, aides, hospital chaplain, and they were witnessed by many friends, neighbors, and family who loved her. Returning to my garden yearly, there are 3 colors of irises. About 3 years ago, she said, "I'm sick of these things. Get over here and take some." So I did. And I planted them. I didn't know what was going to come up. Well, there's purple and yellow and white, and they're beautiful. So they're just coming out of the ground. There's nothing to see yet, but they're there. So you can step by. I consider these some treasures Karen left for me. And I have 2 sentences from Cindy Mercati, who was not able to come but emailed and said, "Karen was the only person who taped the celebration parade when the White Sox won the World Series in 2005, and she sent me the tape. I cried. It was a little thing, but a big thing, and typical of Karen that she would remember my love for the White Sox and show her thoughtfulness and concern for her friend always."
Try this again. My emotional one is full. Bright, beautiful. My buddy since 1958. We went by because we're Norwegian. She was the only person I could speak Norwegian to, aside from my mom. You know, again, I glance out all the time. Don't have anybody to talk to anymore. I didn't prepare for this because I found a song, it's a track called Karen's Theme, and it doesn't really play well here. So if you get a chance on YouTube or something like that, close your eyes, listen to it. It's really what I wanted to say. So here goes Danny Karen and snart ska vi sätta. Thanks.
That was it.
So, we came across a phrase that didn't make it onto the program, but here's what we want to say to all of you. In lieu of flowers, Karen wants you to go take a walk in the woods for a few hours and think of her, and she'll